What a year 2024 was. It was packed with stories that shaped our city and sparked incredible conversations. But as we step into a brand new year, there is so much more to look forward to. I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett. Welcome to Let's Talk Local. In this very first episode of 2025, we are diving deep, reflecting on the moments that define 2024 and exploring the trends, stories, and possibilities that could change life as we know it in the year ahead. So whether you're tuning in to stay informed, inspired, or just a little curious, thank you for being here. I hope you make it part of your New Year's resolution to join us for every episode. Subscribe now. Hi, I'm Sarah Subiata Bennett, and I hope your 2025 is off to an amazing start. As we settle back into our routines, I'm so glad you're here with us for this edition of Let's Talk Local, a Dallas Express podcast. Every other Sunday, we'll be diving into the best of Dallas, the stories, the conversations, and the local highlights that bring our beautiful city to life. And that's not all. I'll also be sharing quick news updates on Dallas Express socials several times a week to keep you in the loop. I'm thrilled to be a part of this incredible journey and hope you'll join me for the ride. Subscribe today and let's talk local together. Okay, I'm so excited about this 2025 fashion forecast that I'm going to be covering. A few of you that know me well know I absolutely love fashion. 2025 is shaping up to be an absolute game changer in style. There's trends that weave past inspirations, bold creativity, and future-facing innovation. Here are some of my favorite must-watch trends and designers that are taking the industry by storm. Okay, for those of you who've been paying attention, 2025 has a really bold theme focusing on Bohemian Rhapsody. Boho chic is back with a bang. There's a lot of suede fabrics, playful fringes, earthy tones that exude some free-spirited elegance. And some of the few designers that I absolutely love in this category are Ulla Johnson, and she's really celebrated for her bohemian aesthetic, and Isabelle Marant, the queen of effortless chic. So there's so much of this uneven hems, unconventional cuts that are really breaking the rules. They offer really fresh twist to traditional silhouettes. Think bold, angular shapes for the ultimate statements. Rick Owens is the king of this. He's known for his avant-garde asymmetry, and J.W. Anderson, who redefines draping and tailoring. So there's also a ton of this maximalist magic. It really emphasizes going all out, the chaotic customization. It's all the rage with extravagant accessories, clashing prints, stealing the spotlight. Some of the few designers that I love in this category are Alessandro Michel from Gucci. I think he's the mastermind of maximalism. And then there's also this show-stopping sculptural jewelry from designers like Schiaparelli. So everything old is seeming to be new again. From the 90s minimalism to the 70s boho, 80s glam, the decades are just colliding in this stylish, nostalgic remix for today. A featured designer for this category, I think, is Celine by Hedi Slimane for the 90s cool, and Etro for their luxurious take on the 70s pattern. Then there's sustainable chic, where fashion is going absolutely green, eco-friendly materials, ethical production. They're much more than trends. They're the industry's future. If you look out for brands that make you feel good and look good, some of the designers behind these style trends are Gabriella Hearst, a sustainability trailblazer, and then there's Stella McCartney, who leads the charge in ethical luxury. I love Stella McCartney for her ability to morph and mold to these new trends. So then there's this whole digital couture space where virtual fashion and tech-driven designs are stepping into the spotlight. It's this digital-only garment to augmented reality space that is absolutely insane for me to comprehend, but 2025 is definitely giving us couture in the cloud. Some of the featured designers are The Fabricant, and then pioneers in digital fashion, and even Gucci, who merge tech and long-standing tradition. And then there are a few designers really redefining the industry. There's Elena Velez. She's merging metalism techniques with high fashion. She draws from the industrial roots of the American Rust Belt to craft gritty yet really glamorous pieces. And then there's Sean Mager, the new creative director at Alexander McQueen, who's injecting youthful energy and modern twists into the brand's dramatic heritage. Then there's Chanel, of course. The new visionary there, Matthew Blasey, blends intricate craftsmanship with forward-thinking sophistication, and I believe is taking on Alexander McQueen's brand kind of head-to-head, but really ensuring that the iconic brand remains cutting edge. And then, of course, since we're Let's Talk Local, I had to place a spotlight on local designer Issei Azinabor, based in Dallas, Texas. Issei is really redefining couture with her intricate hand beading and embroidery. Her creations are stunning. So many of my girlfriends wear her creations, which draw on both African and European influences. Her bridal and evening wear creations are pure opulence. I cannot wait to pay her a visit in 2025. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the post-election rally is no joke. In December of 2024, investors pumped about $8 billion into U.S. equity funds, bringing total inflows for 2024 to a record-smashing $450 billion. In plain terms, it means that the stock market had a banner year and the election supercharged it. So two big questions remain, I know. One, why the market is soaring, and two, where do we go from here? When it comes to the market's meteoric rise, its simplest explanation, I believe, is the fact that there's more buyers than sellers. And what's driving up demand, in my opinion, are cash, buybacks, and optimism. Money managers are playing catch-up post-election, and retail investors are pouring into call options like never before. Corporate buybacks are set to top $900 billion. And this is entirely fueled by surging tech earnings and Fed rate cuts. And let's not forget the $7 trillion sitting in money market funds waiting to jump into stocks as rates decline even further. No wonder the S&P had one of the best runs since the 90s. The 90s, that's absolutely huge. But per usual, every market high is when the financial media revs up its fear machine with news of crashes, inflation, bubbles, you name it. But I just urge you not to let the noise distract you. I believe that this coming era is one of true transformation, especially related to everything finance and economic. So for those of you who are interested, I'm going to take a few moments to explore some big ideas that are really shaping our world. The Fed just delivered its third rate cut of the year, lowering expected rates to 4.25% to 4.5%. But despite these rate cuts, I do not expect a pattern to be emerging. Fed Chair Jerome Powell signaled a new era of caution, with inflation proving to be really stubborn even still. Further rate cuts seem unlikely. And the takeaway, the party may be winding down. I mean, we cannot ignore the fact that one of the top stories from 2024 is the fact that we have these unexplained drone sightings. Since mid-November 2024, there's been numerous reports that have emerged of these mysterious drones accompanied by these orbs over so many parts of the United States, not just in the Northeast anymore. They're everywhere. These sightings have sparked public concern and widespread speculation about their origins and their purpose. Witnesses have described the orbs as bright glowing spheres when observed in proximity to the drones. But then some reports suggest that these orbs exhibit flight patterns and behaviors distinct from conventional aircraft, including hovering at high altitudes and moving at extreme speeds. For instance, footage taken from a commercial plane en route from Chicago to Newark captured the glowing orb-shaped objects that I guess were described as impossible altitude. And certain investigations and explanations from federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, they've been investigating these sightings. I know that a lot of the news is really mixed in what they're choosing to share with us. I don't know if it's our own government. I don't know if it's another government. I do believe that they do know. I believe that there's coordination amongst all or some of these entities. And I believe that life will change as we know it in 2025. As of now, they have not identified any type of malicious activity or credible threats to public safety associated with the drones or the orbs. Some experts suggest that sightings may be due to misidentifications of manned aircraft, celestial objects, or legally operated drones. And let's be real, no one's surprised that Donald Trump was the most Googled name of 2024. Between his legal battles, his campaign for president, and the fact that he knows exactly how to make people either love him or hate him. He was everywhere this year. Love him or not, Trump is headed back to the White House on January the 20th. And as president-elect, he's already making big waves. So here's a look at some of the few changes we can expect as Trump takes office. First up, FBI Director Chris Wray is reportedly stepping down. Trump plans to replace him with Kash Patel, calling him the most qualified nominee to ever lead the FBI in the agency's history. Those are big words, so let's see how it plays out. Then there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Trump's choice for Secretary of Health and Human Services. But here's where it gets interesting. RFK Jr. has asked Trump to appoint his daughter-in-law as deputy director of the CIA to dig into the JFK assassination. Yes, you heard that right. Could we finally see a major conspiracy theory unravel? Let's stay tuned. Trump has also stated that he is intent to end birthright citizenship on day one, arguing that it encourages women to cross the border illegally to give birth, resulting in children who automatically gain U.S. citizenship. His supporters believe this policy shift could help address illegal immigration by removing a perceived incentive. As someone who was born under birthright citizenship, I see this issue from a deeply personal perspective. My biological mother came to the United States, gave birth to me, and made the difficult decision to place me up for adoption into the home of George and Gloria Subiate immediately at birth, believing it would give me a better future. And it did, but not without trauma on all fronts and a lot of pain. Almost a decade later, my birth mother returned to the United States as a legal citizen herself with my siblings after enduring significant pain and sacrifice to do things the right way. Whether or not this policy could be successfully implemented, it highlights the broader debate about immigration and citizenship in the United States, reflecting both the complexities of the issue and the passion surrounding it on all sides. On a much lighter note, we have big news, Dallas foodies. I am one of them. Deep Ellum's Tatsu is now officially the only restaurant in Dallas with a Michelin star. Yep, Chef Tatsu pulled it off, and it's honestly no surprise. His sushi is next level. But heads up, reservations were already a hot ticket. Now they're practically golden. If you're dreaming of indulging in authentic Japanese sushi, here's the deal. Reservations drop on the 1st and the 15th of each month at 8 a.m. sharp. So set those alarms, sharpen your clicking fingers, and may the sushi gods be in your favor. We're planning to feature Tatsu soon. But let's not stop there. There are several other amazing Dallas spots that made the Michelin Guide too. Monarch, Crown Block, Tean, and Duro Hospitality's Mr. Charles, just to name a few. There's so much foodie greatness to explore in this amazing city. And speaking of accolades, Hudson House is one of my favorites, and it's doing Dallas proud. They landed a spot on OpenTable.com's list of top 100 restaurants in the U.S. They have locations all over DFW, in Lakewood, Highland Park, Preston Hollow, Fort Worth, North Dallas, and Las Colinas. It's a little easier to snag a table here. But here's where you come in. We and I very much want your recommendations for our next foodie adventure. Should we check out Dura Hospitality's Mr. Charles, The Charles, a hidden gem like Jimmy's Food Store? What about Maple and Motor, Boots Burgers in Rockwall, Lava Cantina, or Soy Cowboy? Is there another spot that we might try? Dallas got hit with some big news back in September when Chief Eddie Garcia, one of my favorites, announced he was hanging up his badge for good. Since taking over as chief of the Dallas Police Department in 2021, Garcia has been an absolute game changer for the DPD. So, why would someone who's clearly making such an impact leave? For Chief Eddie Garcia, it's all about tackling a new challenge as the assistant city manager in Austin, Texas. Shot through the heart.
Well, let me just hit a couple things, because obviously arresting violent criminals is incredibly important that are plaguing our community. There's no question about that. When I say we're not going to arrest our way out of long-term problems, what I mean is this, is that we need to reinvest in people and places. Police departments, not just here in Dallas, but nationally, think of us as the fever reducer. We're the Advil, we're the Tylenol you take to reduce the fever. We are not the cure to the illness.
This move is tough for Dallas to swallow. Chief Garcia brought a wave of positivity and much needed change to Dallas and the police department. He and Assistant Chief Ruben Ramirez even snagged one of the highest honors in law enforcement, the 2024 Shining Star Award, all thanks to their Checkpoints program. But now, Chief Garcia is off to join former Dallas city manager, T.C. Broadnax, in Austin. If you remember, Broadnax stepped down after some city council drama, tossed his hat in the ring for Austin's city manager's job earlier this year, and landed it by April. On his resume, he highlighted his work on police oversight, housing, homelessness, and public safety. Ironically, some of the issues Dallas residents have been vocal about in polls by the Dallas Express. So what's next for Dallas on this city manager search? Kim Tolbert has been holding down the fort as interim city manager while city leaders have been searching for the perfect fit. Right now, it's down to 3 finalists: William Johnson from Fort Worth, Sacramento Assistant City Manager Mario Lara, and, of course, Tolbert herself. We're going to be keeping a close eye on this as it unfolds, and you can bet both Let's Talk Local and the Dallas Express will be scrutinizing every decision, especially when it comes to the budget. We've recently been made aware that on the 11th, there's going to be a community meeting, and we're hoping to have something solidified, I'm assuming, in January of 2025. Another big happening in Dallas. Back in May, Dallas voters approved a massive $1.25 billion bond program packed with nearly 830 projects. The plan is split into 10 categories, with the city aiming to wrap everything up over the course of the next 5 years. Out of the total, 475 projects are focused on streets and transportation, taking up a hefty $521.2 million slice of the budget. Parks and recreation are getting a solid $345 million, while $43.5 million is set aside for libraries and only $19 million for homeless assistance facilities. $19 million might sound like a big number, but in context of this bond package, it's nothing more than pocket change. And yes, to everyone's point, we're going to have beautiful parks and libraries, and I love those amenities as much as the next person, but what good are they if we have to just step over homeless individuals to get inside? Now, we're going to stay tuned for the actual plan of homelessness as it evolves in Dallas when our shelters are already at full capacity. I know that we're working hard behind the scenes to make sure that we have different initiatives in place to create an answer to this problem. And it's interesting as we kind of expand upon this particular topic. Are we supposed to just turn a blind eye and let them ride the overfunded, underutilized DART system, one that our constituents and citizens are paying for as they feel increasingly unsafe? I think you should ask yourself, is this level of ridership worth the hundreds of millions of dollars we pour into DART every year? Or could that money be more effectively spent? Check the bus stops. Are they full of riders, or are they just makeshift shelters for the homeless? Better yet, I suggest that you do what we did. We actually took a ride on the train and see for yourself how many people are riding for free, using it as daytime shelter because there's nowhere else for them to go. No one is doing anything to fix this. I even asked former Dallas Mayor Tom Leppert what he thinks about the amount of money that goes to DART versus the ridership. Here's what he had to say about it.
The problem with the DART is like any other city that is largely in the South and largely had already spawned large geographic areas before it was laid in, is it is difficult to catch up with that. Mass transit works extremely well in 2 cases. One is where you've got an enormous concentration in a small area, e.g. New York City. Mm-hmm. That works good. Or where you actually are laying out the mass transit in advance of the growth. Toronto's an example of mm-hmm. that. Unfortunately, the Dallases, the Phoenixes, the Houston, those sorts of things, you had urban sprawl, mm-hmm. and Los Angeles, you had urban sprawl much before mass transit came in. So you don't have those concentrated pockets. And as was pointed out, it is expensive to build this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, you're talking billions of dollars for miles. And when you do those miles, when you've already had the sprawl, it's not as easy to get people to use it and to come in. So I've got the same frustration that the Monty does. We're putting a lot of money into it. At the same time, I know when we recruited AT&T, mm-hmm. having the mass transit, having DART, was an important part of what they did. They looked at where they thought their employees were going to live, both north and south, so off to Richardson as well as down Lancaster, et cetera, and it was a factor for them. They regard it in a positive light. But with that sense, trying to get the ridership that you want to have is very difficult. Now, I don't know where the numbers are more recently, But it is a tough exercise to try to do mass transit once you've already had the sprawl. But you're trying to do it for different reasons too. And then it just becomes a simple question of how you balance that.
Okay, y'all. Being a Dallas sports fan, it's a roller coaster at minimum. This year has not been great if you love the Cowboys or the Rangers. The Rangers went from World Series champs to missing the postseason entirely in 2024, and that was a really tough pill to swallow. And the Cowboys, they re-signed Zeke but didn't even use him as RB1. Dak got the biggest contract in NFL history, only to need hamstring surgery by November.
Yeah, the initial diagnosis, according to a number of sources, Tom and Mike, is this is a partial avulsion of the hamstring tendon. It has actually torn off the bone. Again, this is an initial diagnosis. It's my understanding and an explanation as to why he hasn't gone on IR, that he and his team are looking for several other opinions before making a decision about how to proceed moving forward.
Injuries to Zach Martin, DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and Trayvon Diggs did not help either. Sure, they were starting strong with a 33-17 win over the Browns in Week 1, but it's sort of been downhill since. Losses to the Saints and the Lions really stand out. This season ended with the Cowboys playing for their pride and possibly Mike McCarthy's future with the franchise. Other NFL teams are really shining this season. The Chiefs were undefeated until Week 11. The Bills are contenders, and maybe, just maybe, the Lions can finally win a Lombardi trophy. College football, though, that's been exciting. SMU made the playoffs after knocking Alabama out of the bracket, and we finally got the Aggies versus Longhorns rivalry back after a decade, with UT taking the win 17-7. TCU had a so-so season, but SMU's success has had Dallas buzzing. High school football has been nothing short of thrilling this year, especially in my home. Texas is buzzing with some official UIL state champions, and we're here to give them the spotlight they've earned. Let's start with a shout out to a couple of our local small town champs, Gunter and Munster. Way to bring it home. Over in the 4A Division I Conference, Salina took the crown and North Crowley dominated as 6A Division I champ. Now, let's not forget South Lake Carroll, Highland Park, and South Oak Cliff. These teams battled their way to the championship game. They may not have snagged the title, but wow, what an incredible season they gave us. Huge applause for all these hardworking, dedicated athletes who gave it all their hardest this year. You make Texas proud. In hockey, the Stars are staying competitive despite losing Tyler Seguin to hip surgery. And in basketball, the Mavericks have been electric, with Klay Thompson joining Luka and Kyrie. With this lineup, a postseason run in 2025 feels within reach. 2025 is set to challenge and inspire in equal measure. The convergence of energy, intelligence, fashion, politics, sports, and even food certainly signals an era of transformation. And while seismic political shifts may seem outlandish, who's to say what January the 20th might bring when Trump takes oath of office? Buckle up for a year where the only certainty is unpredictability. Here's to a beautiful start to 2025.